After the disappointing Supreme Leader Snoke issue in the Age of Resistance series, where I argued we learned more about Kylo Ren than we did Snoke, I was cautious in my expectations for this one, knowing that we saw quite a bit of Kylo in the Snoke issue, and since we're getting the Kylo Ren origin story later this year in the Charles Soule written comic series The Rise of Kylo Ren. It was certainly possible that this issue, like I found with the Rey issue, was more of a placeholder than a true insight into something deeper about Kylo's character. Fortunately, I was wrong in all of these assumptions, and while I don't want to overstate the importance of the issue for Kylo going into episode 9, the Age of Resistance Kylo Ren issue was a lot of fun and I think a needed story for the fallen Ben Solo. I'd put it up there with the Luke Skywalker, Tarkin, and Age of Rebellion special Yoda stories within the Age of series. We'll start by recapping the events of the issue, and then I'll provide a few of my own thoughts. Wanting the Banathi warriors to end their militaristic expansion throughout wild space and declare loyalty to the First Order, Kylo Ren was sent to their homeworld within wild space to negotiate with them. To help Kylo in this effort, he personally chose a former Imperial Stormtrooper captain to accompany him. Kylo's choice of Captain Rutherford was no random act. It wasn't the first time the galaxy had to deal with the Banathi's hostilities, as Vader and the Empire first confronted them on the wild space planet decades earlier. Captain Rutherford had served Vader competently then, and therefore, Kylo wanted him as an advisor for the First Order. Although the captain would inform Kylo the Banathi were proud, stubborn, and valued size and strength, speaking to their militaristic ambitions, Kylo was still surprised by the warriors when first meeting with their king, King Kristoff. However, the negotiations started off on the wrong foot as the Banathi king continually felt the need to insult Kylo, even telling him he was far more impressed with Vader, who killed the previous king, yet failed to stand against the god of the warriors. Regardless, Kylo attempted to get the Banathi to stop their expansion, turning to the Force to get King Kristoff to submit to the First Order. But when the manipulation failed and Kristoff still insisted on insulting Kylo, Kylo ignited his lightsaber and plunged it into the skull of the king, before turning upon the king's guards. With the negotiations clearly over and the Banathi now wanting to destroy Kylo and the First Order, Rutherford advised that they needed to retreat. But in comparing himself to Vader, Kylo knew that Vader didn't retreat when he attacked the Banathi, and so in his desire to outperform his legendary grandfather, in at least this one single instance, Kylo followed in Vader's footsteps and ordered the First Order to attack. As Kylo led the First Order into battle, it seemed as though they would eventually emerge victorious as Vader and the Empire had. However, soon enough, just as in Vader's experience, the Banathi god emerged, which was a massive Zillo beast. Watching the Zillo beast begin to decimate the First Order's position, Kylo's first instinct was to get to his shuttle to confront the Banathi god. Again, Captain Rutherford advised otherwise, telling Kylo it was time to end his competition with Vader, as it would amount to nothing in the end. But Kylo would have none of it, boarding and then flying the shuttle towards the Zillo beast, much to the disgust of Rutherford. As Kylo approached the beast, he would descend down the shuttle ramp and then jump down towards it, falling and closing ground with his lightsaber ignited. When he was eventually swallowed by the Zillo beast, Rutherford and the rest of the First Order assumed they just watched Kylo's demise. However, they would be shocked to find the Zillo beast first crash towards the surface of the planet, and then Kylo cut through and emerge from the beast itself. Having killed the god of the Banathi, Kylo demanded the warriors now worship and submit themselves to the First Order, which they did without hesitation. As Kylo returned to Rutherford, the captain was clear about one thing. Despite the fact that he had said multiple times earlier that their efforts on the planet wasn't a competition between Vader and Kylo, he had been wrong, as Kylo had just certainly emerged the victor. This was a very refreshing issue from the point of view of Kylo Ren's character. It looked at Kylo's aspiration to become as powerful as Darth Vader from a new perspective, where Kylo would rise to equal and even exceed the accomplishments of his biggest idol. The issue didn't merely depict Kylo speaking to a mask or emotionally lamenting his weaknesses or even his struggles through letting go of his past as Ben Solo. It was just action from Kylo, focused on a goal of besting what Vader accomplished, and not any more complicated than that. The issue probably came at the right time for me, as I've gone back through the Episode 8 novelization again and found myself considering how the films have spent too much time focusing solely on Kylo's flaws. It seems as though the most we know about Kylo is through defining what he isn't, and through his weaknesses. He isn't as powerful as Darth Vader. He can't resist the pull of the light. He's perhaps the embodiment of the weakest aspects of the light and dark sides. And within the Episode 8 novel specifically, he pathetically continuously demonstrated the inability to use his power inherited as a Skywalker to direct the course of his own destiny. Now, some of these were remedied with Kylo's killing of Snoke, with a chance to build further on this destiny in Episode 9, but I think it's enough already. Kylo's role within the Snoke comic felt like the same repeated story of the character's shortcomings. That's Kylo's character within the sequel trilogy certainly, and likely the basis for his arc that's completed in The Rise of Skywalker, but I'd love to see something new at this point. I can say that even as someone who loves the light and dark side struggle within Star Wars. This is a third-generation Skywalker here, nephew and apprentice to Luke Skywalker, grandson to Anakin Skywalker. And while we don't need to see them blowing up super weapons or slaying mythical creatures in every comic and novel, something different that demonstrates Kylo's position within the lineage of the Skywalker family is very welcomed here. It's what makes stories like this one enjoyable. Kylo wanting to walk in Vader's footsteps doesn't always have to be a deep philosophical question or the basis for his failure or positive evolution. It can be this too, a fun, interesting version of Kylo's quest that demonstrates what the dark side allows him to achieve. It was a small victory within the larger questions surrounding Kylo Ren. This aspect, shown in combination with Vader's legacy, as well as Kylo earning the respect of Vader's former captain and other First Order officers, was a story that I've wanted for a long time, and in my opinion, it was pulled off very successfully here. I enjoy any time we get to see the First Order carry out military actions within the unknown regions, or in this case in wild space, so depicting another example of this after the Captain Phasma issue was also great in my opinion. Ideal would be a comic or novel series devoted to the rise of the First Order in the decades prior to Episode 7. But given the way in which their struggle, and really just how close the Imperial remnant came to being destroyed has been explained so far within the canon, seeing small details of how the First Order came to pacify the areas of the galaxy outside of New Republic control is always a good reminder that there are larger stories to tell regarding this topic, and I am very much looking forward to them. This was just a good Kylo Ren story in my opinion, and I'm hoping we see a continuation of this tone and content later this year in the Rise of Kylo Ren comic series. But let me know what your thoughts are about the Age of Resistance Kylo Ren issue. Again, I'm never really one to let a single comic issue define such a significant character featured within the films, but this is one story I'll be happy to remember. Thank you very much for watching everyone, and as always, may the Force be with you.